Hello, everybody. I am Kyle Garland in Denver, Colorado. My cohorts, Ben O'Connell in Chicago, Illinois. Tommy Birch, you are in Massachusetts, I can tell.
Yes, I am.
He's all over. He's and he's going to West Virginia tomorrow. The guy's the traveler of the country, and we're always happy when he can wherever he joins us from. Um, Guys, what a great Super Wild Card weekend, man! Some pretty interesting games, amazing games. A couple of games that maybe could have been a little more fun, but man, we we got no upsets. We just had really good football. Does that mean all the upsets are coming this week? I mean, because there's got to be upsets in the playoffs, right? Somebody's
Well,
got some
the
somebody who's.
Jags not an upset?
I mean, it was like what 1 point? I
Oh
don't
yeah,
think it's
you're right.
yeah,
You're
it's a 1
right.
point. It's a 1 point
Yeah,
spread.
it's fair.
I don't know that we call that there. The home team division champion taking on, and again, it's the Chargers. Well, actually, let's get into the review here. We've got a lot to get to. Let's go ahead and do a review of our games from last week. Then we're going to go ahead and play our game as we close the book on the wild card weekend and move on to the divisional round. We have a divisional round themed game to play. Very excited about that. So let's go ahead and just get started. Let's talk with that. The very first game on Saturday was the Seattle Seahawks, San Francisco 49ers. Ben and we picked the Seahawks to cover that spread. Tommy stuck by his guns, stayed with the 49ers. He was sweating it out at halftime. The Seahawks did a really
no
nice
idea.
job in that first half. But as we all knew, that San Francisco is one of the best teams in football. They're certainly playing the best of anybody right now. And that second half, they outlasted the 49ers. So Ben and I took the L. Tommy got the W there for his pick of the 49ers. Well done. And let's go ahead and refresh everybody's memory on our prop picks. Tommy, Christian McCaffrey. Ben was down on Brock Purdy, and I was also
Boo!
The weather was
I
so
was
much better than expected.
Boo!
I was down on all offense. I was absolutely against offense, and that didn't go so well for Ben and I. Tommy gets the win there, sticking by C-Mac. Ben Purdy had 4 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, 3
Or
passing, 1 rushing.
Three passing, 1 rushing. Yeah, fun fact, Brock Purdy now has as many touchdowns in his playoff career as Jimmy Garoppolo. After
Yeah!
1 game.
Oof.
Yeah, and then I bought into that weather hype. Man, this game's going to be a slog. There's not going to be any scoring. The passing game is going to struggle. Not that. That was not the case at all. Both guys had good games. Okay, so what do we think about the Seahawks moving forward? They are obviously done for the year. We'll talk about the 49ers here in a bit, but so the postmortem on the Seattle Seahawks season sounds like Geno Smith is going to be the guy there going into next year. What do we? I mean, this is a young team. We have to like their chances next year, right?
Can you be anything other than optimistic? Like you won the trade. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, coming into the season, that's what you really wanted. Is you know that you're gonna get that an extra first round pick. You know, you got a bunch of picks coming in, honestly, and then so it's kind of like, well, let's see what we can do at this ground level. Let's see what we're building from. What's our foundation? Well, it turns out their foundation is pretty damn good. And having, what was it, like the 5th overall pick, that's going to be insane for them. They're
Yeah,
going to just build up and be able to build out. Future looks bright in Seattle.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this team because that trade, that Russell Wilson trade, was a futures trade for them. They got their picks. They got, we really, none of us expected this team to do well. We all expected them to be the bottom of the league, and they ended up being in the upper echelon. And that not only because this offseason, it might have something to do with free agents and whether free agents wanted to be on a team that was projected to go 3-14, and now this team's projected to go to the playoffs. Maybe some free agents will want to go there. They have cap space, they have draft picks, and they have a quarterback that looks like he can be serviceable for the next year or two. So I have a lot of high hopes for this team, and I could see them making the playoffs and the wild card again next year.
You're not going to concede the NFC
Oh
West to
yeah,
them.
never.
All right. All right. So the game on Saturday night, let's go ahead and refresh. Tommy was on Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Ben and I both picked the Jacksonville Jaguars. In fact, Ben's top pick of the week, of all of the picks out there, his pick was the money line on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And as he was explaining to me before the show started, not once did he feel that was in jeopardy. That bet was always going to win.
Never doubted, not a single down. I doubled down at halftime when they were plus 750. That's how much faith I had in the blonde-haired bomber Trevor Lawrence.
Well,
Jeez.
he had a rough first half, 4 interceptions and a half. It was he was kind of like the Brett Maher of quarterbacks there in that first half. But man, he turned it on the second half. So Ben and I got the W's. Tommy took the loss, although the real losers were the Los Angeles Chargers and especially Joey Bosa with 3 back-breaking penalties. Love to see it. He's not a good guy.
You know who else is a big loser? Brandon Staley is a huge loser.
The biggest loser of them all is Joe Lombardi, who got the axe. And look, I don't like to see people get fired, but I've been calling out Joe Lombardi all. We've all hated watching Joe Lombardi take Justin Herbert and put him in this weird shell where you've got this. I mean, like he didn't throw the ball more than 20 yards in that game on Saturday. I mean, it was just it's embarrassing to have a guy like that, and your offensive coordinator is treating him as though he's a dink and dunk. I mean, it's just really awful. So look, I look forward to the Chargers without him. Again, I don't wish anything ill upon Mr. Lombardi. Look, he's the trophy's named after his family. He can just live off that. So anyway, our props from this game. So Tommy, how do you blow a 27-point lead and not throw an interception?
You know, I was so confident one of those two was going to hit. At halftime, you know, opposite story from what I felt at the Seahawks game. I was worried. And I was so confident in the game pick. And I'm like, all right, well, now Herbert's not going to throw a pick because they're probably going to run the ball more because they're comfortable. And then when they're down bad, he still doesn't throw a pick against a team that's been catching picks every game in the last 5. So I just had 2 L's on opposite ends of the spectrum, and I'm very unhappy. But I am happy the Jaguars won.
Yes, so you took the loss there, Ben. Again, you've been on Trevor Lawrence all season long, even when they were 2-6. I don't think that you weren't getting off that wagon, were you?
No, hell no. I'm with him right or die, 100%.
So he got you a plus 190 on his double there of over 249 plus multiple touchdowns. He had an excellent second half, obviously. And Travis Etienne went over 100 yards rushing. And I won my props there. So the Jags were good to Ben and I on Saturday. Can't complain about them at all. So now that the Chargers are done, once again, July, August, they are the favorites to win the AFC. And once again, here we are in January, and they're off to Cabo. What do we see for this team in 2023? Obviously, they have a new OC coming in. What else do they need?
A new
head
coach. Oh, that's funny.
That was great.
Well, that tells you everything you need to know. The man just needs to leave.
We know where this NFL PPP team stands on the Jaguars and the Chargers coaching staff, I guess.
Well, that's the thing is Staley is a defensive coach. I mean, he was the defensive coordinator for the Rams. Comes in, he's supposed to shore up that side of the football. He hasn't done that once. So how long are they going to allow him? I mean, it's only been 2 years, but 2 years of bad defense with when you've got a Derwin James and you've got a Joey Bosa, you've got some, and you know they went out and J.C. Jackson. Obviously, I know he got hurt, but even before he got hurt, he was terrible. What is the rationale for sticking with this guy, this defensive-minded coach who has been just awful on defense?
He
he
had a
he
winning record.
he also just it's been questionable the handling of the Herbert injury earlier this
Yeah,
season. That's also been my
yeah.
big thing. Is like, how can you trust this guy? To let your face of the franchise go out there, when he probably shouldn't be. Uh, yeah, it's
Well,
just
and not just the
crazy.
Herbert injury. They play that game without Mike Williams because Mike Williams fractures his back in an absolutely meaningless game in Week 18. And this is Mike Williams who has already been fragile this year,
Hmm.
and you need him. He's your only real deep threat. He's the guy that stretches the other team's defense, and to have to play without him because of your stupidity, man, I don't know how do you move on from that, and how do you look the rest of your team in the face as their leader when your leadership is the reason why they're sitting at home now.
Yeah.
All right, the first game on Sunday, and we all knew that the Buffalo Bills were going to tear apart the Miami Dolphins and Skylar Thompson. And fellas, that did not work out great
This was
for
tough.
us.
This was tough. This was tough.
Well, look, as Ben has mentioned, Skylar Thompson, a Kansas State product. So obviously, you had to know that there was going to be some great quarterbacking play
Oh yeah.
in the game. Yeah, he wasn't. I mean, it's amazing that the Dolphins were this close because you had Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill dropping passes. They couldn't run the ball at all without Raheem Mostert in there. Skylar Thompson wasn't very good. Mike McDaniel uh, does not understand that there's a play clock in the NFL, and yet somehow this team was within 3 points and they had the football with an opportunity to win in the final minutes of the game. Are we worried about Buffalo going forward because of that?
Yes, I'm
I you
definitely
should
worried.
be.
NFL scriptwriters went crazy for this game.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's look at our props to see if we did any better. And we did not. And it's Dawson Knox got in the end
Ah,
zone. He just didn't get a fourth reception. He
God.
got stuck at three.
And one of
Jalen
them was so
Waddle,
close. So
yeah,
close.
yeah, yeah. And then Waddle, if he catches, like three of his drops, he's going to score. So Jalen
Yeah.
Waddle blows it, and then yeah, my pick of the Dolphins at 13 points or under was not good either. They scored a lot more than that. So the season is over for Miami. We aren't quite sure about Tua's health, where things will stand at quarterback next year for this team. We obviously they've got great wide receivers. They've got a good foundation. I still am a McDaniel fan, even though he didn't acquit himself all that well this last weekend. What's next for the Miami Dolphins?
I mean, I heard that that Tua's like he was looking all right, and he should be the healthy enough at some point during next season. And it's just like, do you have the confidence to play him is the issue, and it's just it's a
Mm-hmm.
very convoluted process, and I we pray for him, of course,
Yeah,
um, but this is I mean even for Buffalo, Miami and Buffalo, it's difficult to see things going forward. I mean you get stuck with Teddy Bridgewater, who's very injury prone, or Skylar Thompson, who played like like Nick Foles, and it's just you just have to wonder like what's next, and it's so like it's just so blurry right now, so foggy,
yeah,
and I really couldn't tell you.
Yeah. No. And what a disappointing kind of end for this team that really at times showed some extremely high highs. And, it's just the injury bug and just not being able to get everyone on the field at the same time when it mattered. And, man, it's just hard, to think back to that Dolphins team earlier in the season where it's just Tua hitting Hill and Waddle, and they're just streaking, putting up points like it's no one's business. Man, it would have been cool to see that team compete, and that's kind of what I think. Unfortunately, this season's going to be remembered as one of those years that what could have been if it wasn't for those injuries.
Hmm.
And I think that kind of adds to that giant question mark that is next year and what to expect, because you kind of feel like this season never got the closure that you expect to have when you eventually are done with your year. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. When you talk about the high highs, I think back to that 28-point fourth quarter against a very good Ravens defense. And you thought to yourself, man, there's nothing this offense can't do. Whenever they want to score, they can. And for that offense to be what we've seen here these last 2 months, and then see them absolutely have no shot at on a 2-minute possession where Skylar Thompson he's terrified. He's leaving the pocket within a second, and he was refusing to run the football. Like, go pick up 5 yards and get out of bounds. And it just, it was so disjointed. And that obviously losing your quarterback makes a big difference. But there were a lot of problems certainly with this team the last couple of weeks. And yeah, we'll see. Obviously, they go into next year feeling probably pretty bullish about the future because of, I mean, they're still a young team. Obviously, they've got a head coach who's just going to be entering his second year. And my guess is he's learned a few things from this year that will make next year a little better for them. Second game on Sunday, we all were on the Minnesota Vikings. And so, yeah, Vikings -3 did not matter. They lost the game outright, and the three of us took L's. And I'm mad at myself because the Vikings told us you cannot rely on us to cover spreads. We are a paper tiger. We are the worst division champion there is. We are a team that can easily go out and lay an egg at any moment. They've told us that from the beginning. You can't win 11 games by one possession and expect to always have that happen. I should have been smarter and gone with the Giants. Gentlemen, how do you guys feel?
Oh,
Very similar.
I feel bad that I came onto this show and led the listeners wrong. Personally, I don't feel too bad. I have some friends from New York. They've talked some sense into me about 15 minutes before the game. I moved my money across. You know what? I ended up profiting, but I did the listeners dirty, and I apologize to y'all. I gotta apologize for that one. That one's on me. That's my bad.
Yeah, after that show, there was a. This is one of those picks that you think about for a little bit because you're not 100% sure. And then, living where I live and going to a school where I go to in Massachusetts, Western Mass specifically, there is a mixture of, Connecticut and New York fans that love the Giants. And I was talking to one of my friends, and he convinced me that this Vikings team was super hot garbage. His words, his quote. And I believed him. And I went into the game expecting the Giants to win, and then they did. But then again, just like Ben, I feel terrible for leading the listeners wrong. And all of us, this is just not a great start.
Well, and I think maybe this hangs biggest on your head because you were on Saquon Barkley as like an MVP guy. He was your offensive player of the year. He was your all everything, and you were his biggest champion. You were a Daniel Jones guy. I mean, the nice thing is you'll have another week to make up for it as the Giants survived.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe next week I have to redeem myself because all this positive talk I've had for the Giants, and I decided to turn on them in their biggest moment. I feel like I betrayed them and Giants fans alike.
All right. So, well, how we did on our props, we did as well on our props as the game. And look, for Ben, Justin Jefferson came within about 6 inches of scoring that first touchdown of the game. That would have been a win. In fact, they ruled it a touchdown, but then replay overturned it. So you were very, very close. And they're late in the game, and I was thinking, oh, maybe we can go into overtime, and Gano and Joseph can exchange a couple field goals, and then I'll be good there. Yeah, no, we took 3 L's on the prop picks, and Dalvin Cook as the first touchdown scorer.
Oh, don't even
Obviously,
talk to me
for
about that.
obviously first touchdown scorer picks are a lot of you're relying on a lot of luck, a little bit of knowledge, and a lot of luck. So when you don't win that bet, it's not a major loss. I mean, you're playing plus 565 on that. So obviously,
Yeah.
it was a long shot.
However,
And
the fact that they gave Kirk Cousins the ball on the goal line for that first
yeah,
score makes me very upset because
well,
I
yeah,
was
as soon
very
as yeah,
close to that plus 565 money. I was just one like better play call away, but they had to try and make Kirk look
yeah.
good.
No, they
Uh,
take the TD away from Jefferson. You think you're going to profit, and then nobody did because nobody's picking Kirk Cousins for a rushing touchdown. Come on.
God damn it.
So very disappointing. So the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I was reading some things. Adam Thielen's wife has posted the Thielens sound like they are done with the Vikings. That they fully expect to not be back with that team next year. And then I saw a number of Vikings beat writers talking about all of the different pieces that can be saved by cutting different guys. And it sounds like that the expectation in Minnesota is that there's going to be a lot of roster turnover this offseason. Now, obviously, Jefferson, you can build a team around him, but we might see a very different Minnesota team next year.
It's exciting, honestly, because you see a team that, although they found success this year, is very hard-earned success, and it was gritty and not very good for betters, but it was success to say the least, and maybe roster turnover is what they need. Maybe they need to have a little bit of change, have a spark. Maybe it's helpful. It could go either way, but I like to assume the best here.
Yeah, and you know what? This is the right time to do it, especially with the NFC North and the state that it is. I think there's gonna be a lot of change. I mean, we're obviously gonna talk about the Aaron Rodgers situation later, but you don't know if Green Bay is gonna see some major shakeups to what it's known as an organization.
Mm.
The Bears look like they're could put the pieces together. Of course, we're saying that about the Bears every year. And this Detroit Lions team, really does look like they may be the real deal. And if they can carry that momentum over to next year, like the division really could be anybody's. And so, in this state where everyone is kind of jockeying for position for this next, 5 6 year stretch, like this is the time to do it because, yeah, everyone else is. You can start at the same time.
All right. Well, Sunday night's game, we all picked the Cincinnati Bengals to handle the Baltimore Ravens because the Ravens are starting Tyler Huntley and he's terrible. Well, he was still pretty terrible, but the Bengals failed to cover the 8.5 point spread. They won by 7. The Ravens, they made a game out of it. In fact, they could have won this game had Huntley not fumbled at the goal line. They nearly caught that Hail Mary there at the end. They played really well on defense, which didn't go so well for a lot of our prop bets. Yeah, Joe Mixon. Well, Joe Mixon did all right. Well, I guess I was a little focused on myself. You guys won your props. Hayden Hurst got his 4th reception late in the game. Joe Mixon went over, but the Ravens defense did a fine job on Joe Burrow. He did not. He got 2 total touchdowns, but one of them was a rushing touchdown. So he did not hit on my prop. The Bengals move on. Not all that impressively, but they anytime you play a team inside your division, it's never going to be that straightforward. And the Baltimore Ravens, we're going to talk about Lamar Jackson here when we get to the quarterback situations or the different quarterback teams. But overall, where do we see this Ravens team as they move forward?
Screwed.
Yeah, pretty bad situation. We already talked about on a previous show. I don't know if it was the last or before that. The whole Lamar Jackson situation, just kind of ruining their cap space and their future. But there's not much else they can do. I mean, what are they going to do? Go into the draft and find somebody? I mean, maybe Derek Carr is their answer, but
Ew, don't say
definitely
that.
not. Definitely not.
Don't say
I'm worried.
that.
I'm the worst part is, you have to like the Ravens to an extent because they always find a way to be an underdog, but now they're just like underdogs, but not realistic. I mean, we could see another
Mhm.
Seahawks team where they lose their star and Tyler Huntley comes out and becomes like Mega Man or something, but I don't really see that happening. So
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
one thing that struck me. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna like agree with Tommy on all this. It just feels like Baltimore is kind of like just in a hostage situation right now. Like what do you what options do they really have? Give up money or just kind of go down? Like you don't really have too much to work with, and unfortunately, they waited so long. The ball's no longer in their court. I mean, we're gonna talk about this in a second, but yeah, it's hard to be optimistic when such a big headline, and it's the elephant in the room whenever you bring up the Ravens. Like, yeah, it's a pretty massive one too, so it's
Yeah.
pretty bleak.
One thing that struck me is after the game, John Harbaugh was catching some pretty big heat about his timeout management there at the end of the game, and he basically replied, "Well, if you have a basic understanding of time and timeouts, I could see why you would think that, but we had a plan in place and we were following on that plan." It was such a bullshit cop out. You're the head coach. Go ahead and take responsibility for your mistakes when you lose a playoff game, especially when you've been a long time head coach with a pretty good track record. For him to duck that, I thought was pretty poor. I know that Ravens fans are certainly calling for Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator there, to be fired. They're pretty unhappy with Harbaugh after the way this game went. But again, a lot of it was about injuries. So we are going to get into the Lamar Jackson situation here in a little bit. We do have one more wild card game to get to. That was the Monday night game, the Dallas Cowboys at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And man, I have hated Tom Brady for 2 full decades. And for some reason, I bought into that 3 touchdown game he had with Mike Evans. And the Cowboys laid that massive egg in week 18. I was on the Bucks. Tommy, you joined me on the Bucks,
yeah.
and we feel silly. Ben gets the W, however. Well done, Mr. O'Connell.
Yeah.
Brett Maher just took the slack of being the bad player instead of Dak Prescott. It just had to be a turnover, a completely different day. I,
Well,
jeez.
I couldn't tell who was worse, Tom Brady or Brett Maher. I mean, they both had just awful days.
Oh my goodness! And then for some reason, Dak Prescott is Dan Marino reincarnate. Like, what happened there? I've never seen him play like that before.
Well, I told the listeners last week that Dallas just does the opposite of what I asked them to do. I ended up, you guys convinced me after the show. I ended up betting on Tampa, and this is what happened. You know what I'm saying? So I I got myself a W on this show by betting real money on Tampa. So you got to spend money to make money or whatever. But yeah, here we are, man.
Let's see if we did any better on our prop bets, and I'm going to say no. And
How's that
Micah
even
Parsons,
possible, though?
Parsons was sitting on 3 tackles since like the early third quarter. But the reason he didn't is because it's every play was an incomplete pass. You can't get a tackle when every play is Tom Brady throwing it into the dirt. So
That made me
That's
so
true.
upset. Like
yeah,
Michael Parsons, that's like his third game all year doing that, and somehow when the Cowboys play incredibly, has to disappoint me. This is this is a bad day.
and Dak Prescott stealing the rushing touchdown from Zeke there.
Yeah, what are the odds that happens, right?
Yeah. So yeah, all in all, it was not. It wasn't a good game to watch. It wasn't a good game to bet on. So we are expecting a much brighter things coming up. Let's get into this quarterback, or let's go ahead and talk about the Buccaneers here real quick. But we're also going to talk about their quarterback situation in just a second, which will be tied into a lot of it. But the Bucks, as they move on, obviously a lot of questions where they're going to be next year.
Oh, jeez. This is gonna be really, really tough because what are you gonna do? Because if Tom leaves and you're back, I mean, you could maybe see a future with Kyle Trask, possibly. I mean, there's a little bit of potential there. I'd like to think that he would do well, but it's just this Bucks team. I don't
Well,
know.
let's just get into the quarterback thing since that's going to be really the main thing about the
Mhm.
Bucks. I have Aaron Rodgers here queued up, but let's go ahead and move over to Tom. We'll go back to Aaron in a second. So so as you can see on this graphic, retirement is the fourth most likely option for Tom Brady. Personally think that's lower down on the list. I don't think he is going to retire. I don't think he comes through this year where he loses his wife and loses that badly to end the season, and then all of a sudden decides now I walk away from football. I think he's going to be on a team next year. The San Francisco 49ers, the number one betting team right now for Tom Brady.
No,
He's loved the Niners his whole
no.
life. The Patriots, number two on that list at plus 275. I I don't see. I mean, I know that he and the Crafts are close, but he and Bill Belichick, I don't know. Tampa Bay Buccaneers on that list, but it really sounds like that the Bucks are ready to move on. The Raiders right there after retirement, and then the Miami Dolphins, who of course went after Tom. Well, they went after Tom last year and lost a draft pick because of it, or a couple of years ago. So okay, so let's assume Tom is not back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Um, Tommy, you mentioned Kyle Trask. Have we seen enough of him to have any idea that what kind of NFL quarterback he would be?
I mean, we haven't, but maybe the Bucks have just inside that organization. I got a quick question for you though. If we parlay retirement and another team, and he retires and comes back, do you think we'll make a lot of money on that, or does that technically not count as retirement?
Yeah, I would guess that somehow we would lose there.
Vegas hates us. It's okay.
Man, this is crazy. Yeah, I think that some of these odds are not initially what I would expect. I think that Vegas is probably a little bit more attractive than this line would offer. Um, you know, I could see this mentality of of Brady being like, "Well, everyone doubts me. Everyone doubts my homeboy Josh. You know what? We're just gonna go do it. We're just gonna
Mhm.
go and give the middle finger to the whole NFL and just be like, you know what? We're the bad boys and we're in Vegas." Uh, I don't see him going back to New England. I think that he likes the warm weather, and I think that Vegas is enough of a party city, kind of like relax, do what you want, like that. It's still attractive to Tom to spend a majority of his time there. Um, I don't know if Vegas has the money, but
Yeah,
I think that that's kind of initially where my head has him going. When I look at this list.
I mean, if
yeah,
he goes to Vegas, he doesn't have to worry about coming back for curfew after parties to see his wife.
yeah. That is a good point. I think the rationale behind the 49ers being on this list is we're really unsure about Trey Lance. As good as Brock Purdy has been, he was still a seventh round draft pick. And the 49ers have the guys in place where all you need to do is throw the ball 4 yards and let Debo do the rest. Let Brandon Ayuk do the rest. Let Christian McCaffrey do the rest. All you need is a distributor of the football at quarterback. You don't need a playmaker anymore. And certainly Brady doesn't appear to be that. I think the 49ers could be very good still with Tom Brady at quarterback. Again, I don't think that's where he goes, but I think that's probably why you have people betting on him to go to San Francisco. So let's go back to Aaron Rodgers. Man, I do not want to do this with him again. His whole, I just got to see how I feel. I don't know. I'm going to go off into the woods and sun my butthole and think about it a little bit. I mean, I don't care. And then he's like, then he's on Pat McAfee this week. Oh, I can win another MVP. Not from the quarterback we saw this year. And he's like, well, if I was in the right position. Well, so the positions that he might possibly go to, according to the betting odds, the Indianapolis Colts are first, the New York Jets are second, Washington Commanders third, the Saints fourth, then the Panthers, and then the Patriots. You guys see him at any of these teams?
I mean, if I see any of them realistically, I see the Jets the most, just because they have announced that they are going to put a bag into a good, like an elite quarterback, which it makes the most sense, and they need it the most to find like playoff success. And I feel like from his standpoint, the Jets is probably the best team because
Mhm.
they're just so well built. They're just missing that quarterback. So if I were him, I'd be going to the Jets. But we have Aaron Rodgers is an interesting man. So you have no idea what's going on in his head. And you were talking about how he said on the Pat McAfee show that he could, win another MVP. But Gronk had a response to this that was the best possible response. You're worried about MVPs. What about the Super Bowls? That's what
Uh-huh.
Gronk said about this. And that's how I feel as well. So he might go to another team and see better receivers. Maybe he sees New Orleans, or maybe even, Indianapolis has a bunch of tall guys that can catch some fade routes. But I mean, I see the Jets most likely.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers doesn't get the message that no one liked it when LeBron put this, big like show, pizzazz into his free agency. Aaron, no one gives a crap. You're just doing the hippie version of LeBron. Just go do your thing in the woods and come back when you have a decision. Don't tell us about what you're gonna do and whatever. I think Indianapolis is an interesting location for Aaron. Um, Depends on who they hire as coach, and depends on the order in which they go after things. If Aaron can have say into a coaching hire, I think that he would love to go there because that's the type of dude he is. Like he wants to be a GM and a player at the same time. And I think that Indianapolis is the most, I think Ursay's proven that he can trust unconventional methods. I think he proved that this year. So yeah, I mean, I do like the Colts as the betting favorite here. I don't know what he does, dude. Maybe
and,
he
and
just
and
gets lost in the woods.
do the Colts still take a quarterback at number 4 then? Because I mean, Rodgers will be 40 years old next year. And you've got the 4th overall pick, and you've got some pretty decent quarterback options that you'll probably have there at 4. Do the Colts still try to redo the Jordan Love thing, draft Aaron Rodgers' replacement as Rodgers comes in, and start that all over again?
That's a
Without telling
mess.
him, they should
Oh yeah,
not
no.
tell him.
If I'm
Instead,
Yeah,
if I'm
let
Rogers
him
here, I'm
find out. Yeah.
saying, all right, I'll come play for you, Indy, on the condition that you don't draft a quarterback. I mean, realistically, though, if you think about it, I don't see the Commanders as a team that picks him up. But just think about Aaron Rodgers and Terry McLaurin. That'd be
Yeah,
so much fun.
and Jahan Dotson
Oh yeah,
too.
Jahan Dotson
Yeah,
in there too. Jeez, that'd be
yeah.
that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
All right. So we already did Brady. Let's go to Lamar Jackson now. And really an interesting weekend. So Jackson does not travel with the team for the playoff game. He traveled with them to Cincinnati for the week 18 game, even though we knew he wasn't going to play. He doesn't travel with the team for the playoff game, which is odd when you are the leader of the team. John Harbaugh doesn't cover for his quarterback. He praises Huntley and talks about how all of the injuries that Huntley played with, when he could just, kind of provide some cover for the face of his team, and he doesn't do that. This sounds like this is going to a divorce, and a pretty messy one, because How do you dump your guy who just was an MVP a couple years ago? He's 26 years old.
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like the relationship is so bitter now. It's getting to a point where it's not even worth like trying to squeeze whatever money you can get out of it. At that point, you got to get out of there
I
as
just
a
don't know how
player.
this. I just
Yeah.
don't know how the deal didn't get done. Like,
Oh my god,
like,
yeah.
what
Oh
is
my god, yeah.
Baltimore thinking? Like, just genuinely, like, the under, evaluation and understanding of how much this dude is worth to your organization, not just as a player, but from a marketing side. This dude is the face of the freaking franchise. He was on the
Mhm.
cover of Madden, like
Yeah.
already, and he's like, he's so incredibly young into this career. I just don't know how Baltimore let it slip so badly. I like I like Atlanta for Lamar though. Lamar
Oh
fits
yeah, for
into
sure.
Atlanta and what they want to do perfectly. He can do everything Marcus Mariota can do, but 5 times better. And just I think that would just be an absolute, it would be so fun to watch. It would be so fun to watch. I am pro Lamar Jackson playing in ATL. That's the Ben O'Connell seal of approval right there.
Ben hit the
For those,
nail on the
yeah,
head. He hit the
yeah,
nail on the
no.
head.
For those of you who are not watching and you are listening, the odds board for Lamar Jackson's next team, the New York Jets are first at plus 300. The Falcons are second at plus 400. Then it's the Patriots at plus 600. The Raiders at plus 700, along with the Panthers at plus 700. And then the Colts at plus 800. And Ben, like you said, the Falcons love to run the football. This guy would be perfect for to team him up with Cordell Patterson and Tyler Algiers. The three of them they would rush for
Oh
250 yards every game. You get Kyle Pitts back. Man, I would love to, and Drake
yeah.
London,
Drake London.
obviously.
Oh my
Drake London's better than any receiver that he's had. So yeah, I mean, I just would love to watch that offense. Let's will it into existence. The Lamar Jackson to the Atlanta Falcons makes me all of a sudden. Well, in the NFC South, they would instantly be the favorites to win that division by a
for
lot.
sure.
And
Honestly,
yeah, I would dig that.
I could even see, another Lamar MVP if he goes to Atlanta because all the pieces around him. I mean, you go from Mariota and Ritter to Lamar Jackson. Ben was so right about him being 5 times better. He's a better deep ball passer. He's a better passer in general than both of those guys. He's a better
Mm-hmm.
runner than both of those guys, better playmaker. He could do like that offense would love to have him because they already built it around a player like him. He would just like accentuate it. Atlanta with him, it'd just be like playoffs and I could see him being an MVP candidate again.
And he would own the city. The people in Atlanta would embrace him with everything. And man, yeah, now I'm excited. Now I'm excited for the Falcons in 2023. And right now Jackson's still a Raven. So,
Come on,
but
Atlanta. Come on. We gotta
Come
we
well,
on,
gotta
and
we
we
gotta
Atlanta.
bless it
yeah.
up,
So we just have to hope that if the Ravens do use that franchise tag, which is going to cost them $45 million next year to put the exclusive tag on Jackson, that they do a tag and trade. If they just tag and want to play him, then I'm really upset. Tag him, trade him to the Falcons, do that, and we're all happy.
Yeah, that's the
All
move.
right. After Lamar, we are looking at Daniel Jones' next team odds. The New York Giants, the heavy favorite, minus 200 that he remains with the Giants next year. The Ravens, though, number 2 on that list. The Colts, 3. Jets. The Bears make the list because there are some grumblings that maybe they're not totally sold on Justin Fields, although I don't know why you'd be totally sold on Daniel Jones if you're not on Justin Fields. And then there's the Raiders. They're 6th on the list at plus 1,200. Danny Dimes has certainly made himself some money. He made himself some serious cash against that Vikings team in the wild card. The spot track market value says that his contract will be 3 years, $76 million, which is actually still quite cheap for a starting quarterback and quite cheap for a starting quarterback that gets you to the playoffs. What do you guys see for Dan Jones' next team?
Oh, we stay with the Giants, especially if they compete in this divisional round, or if they win it and move on. Like it's got to be Danny Jones, Danny Dimes Stan at in New York. Same with the New Jersey Giants. I think that he is overperforming a little bit right now. I think it's because it's the Vikings, and the Vikings aren't
Mhm.
great. But you know, it's 50-50 here. But I could see him staying with the Giants, but I don't know if he's going to get that much money to stay with the Giants, even if it's relatively cheap. I could see it being even lower.
I don't expect him to be changing teams. I think that they just got that culture that Daniel Jones has kind of been waiting for. The team's kind of gotten to that point. Um, Now, does he know that he's not going to scale with how well the Giants become? He doesn't know that yet, and that's unfortunate because he will fall off at some point. This Giants team will continue to steadily improve, and he will be the weak link. But that is not the case yet. Uh, he's a solid quarterback. I'm not gonna lie to you. Don't let the fact that he looks like an infant learning to walk every time he runs with the ball. Don't let that fool you, okay? Like he can still piece it up, dude. He can still, put a rope on it, and he's just solid in between the ears. He has some good, decent football IQ. So I like him. I think that the Giants are an obvious spot because if he goes anywhere else, I think that he gets exposed that he does have that ceiling. I think that he's successful because he is with the Giants, the team that has totally embraced him, that will play for him. I think that if he goes anywhere else, dude, he's kind of screwed. So yeah, I think that he needs to go to the Giants.
All right. Lastly, our quarterbacks, Derek Carr. We know he's not going to be a Raider next year. The Jets are the betting favorite for his services at plus 400. The Saints plus 425. The Indianapolis Colts, Carolina Panthers, the Tennessee Titans. This is the only quarterback where the Titans appear on the board. And the Arizona Cardinals coming in at sixth at plus 750. What do we see for Derek Carr in 2023?
I don't know. I mean, it's so crazy. The fact that he's gone in the first place is crazy to me. But I feel like if anybody, it's probably New Orleans. That's my personal pick. I could see him going there because the Jameis project didn't work the way they wanted it to. Andy Dalton's not starting there for sure. I mean, jeez, I got no idea.
Uh, Out of these teams, any of them that are jumping out off the page at me, it would be Carolina. But I think that that is also dependent on the coaching situation there. I think that who's the interim? Uh,
Steve Wilkes?
Steve Wilkes. If they keep Wilkes, I think Wilkes is okay with keeping Sam around. And I
Yeah,
think that that if you stay, then that would take Carolina out of it. Other than that, like a team that kind of jumps out to me, it is Washington, and I know that they're not on the
Mm-hmm.
board, but I think that a move to Washington would make total sense, uh, because Washington has a solid history of picking up quarterbacks that everyone thinks is good, but secretly sucks. And that's Derek Carr. I promise you. Wherever he goes, it's not going to be pretty. He's not going to somehow become a winner, okay? Like the Raiders Derek Carr, all the Raider crap that went, like all those terrible seasons. That's who Derek Carr is. And yeah, statistically he can be fine, but he's not a winner. He's not going to, take you far into the playoffs. Uh so yeah, dude, I think that going to Washington narratively makes sense, but wherever he goes, yeah, I think it's a dumpster fire regardless. None of the Carr brothers are good at football. Do not let them trick you. They already tricked too many people. Don't let you be another person of that.
So I find it interesting that the Cardinals are on this board. Obviously, they've got Kyler Murray tied up for many, many years. They are in the hunt for a new coach as Cliff Kingsbury vacations over in Southeast Asia. Um, They're going to probably, though, not start next year with Kyler Murray being healthy, his injury happening late in the year. So would it just be a 1-year rental? He is under contract through 2025, but his contract as created by the Raiders so they could get out of him was that they can dump him for a pretty easy cap hit. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that he goes to the Cardinals for a year. Then Kyler Murray's back and healthy, and Carr is moving on to another team. What is interesting about this is that because of Derek Carr and the Cardinals quarterback situation, we're also seeing DeAndre Hopkins' name being thrown about as somebody who is going to be on the move. Obviously, he only played 8 games for the Cardinals this year because he had that suspension to begin the year. He is a valuable commodity, even though he's 30. He's still a stud wide receiver. There are a number of teams, as the Cardinals kind of try to figure out why they are a last place team and need to, because we think the Rams will be better next year because Sean McVay has said he's coming back. Matthew Stafford is coming back. They'll have Cooper Kupp healthy again, and their team should be fine. The Cardinals are now the bottom of that division, and it may be that they're going to do a complete reset as they've dumped their GM, they've dumped their coach. Hopkins going to be a casualty of that because he's due to make $19 million next year. Where do we like to see him in 2023? Where does he make the most sense?
This one's tough too. I mean, D-Hop, if he played the full season and didn't, get caught taking roids, he would have been a top receiver. I mean, you look at his stats throughout his half of the season that he played incredible. And it's just some more good football that we expect from D-Hop. And, I feel like New England could use him. I could see the Chiefs going after him, but at the same time, I just can't envision him in a Chiefs jersey. I feel like if anybody,
he's wearing red right now.
Yeah, it's different. I can't imagine that KC Arrowhead.
Okay.
But New England, I could definitely see New England because that's where good receivers that need to Randy Moss, some of those guys. I could see him being in New England. And
I mean, Randy Moss went to go play with Tom Brady. Does Mac Jones have that same panache?
I don't know. Maybe someday, but I actually really like the New York Giants here. The Giants is very interesting because their receiving core is horrendous, and Daniel Jones somehow makes something out of it. But if Daniel Jones had D-Hop, it would be a completely different game. And it just, the thought interests me. But the one that I would like to see probably the absolute most is Detroit, because we all want Detroit to win. I think all three of us are fans of the underdog Detroit Lions and how they've been doing. But if you add such a stud to the offense, there's not really much that I think could stop them from taking their division.
Well, they're going to have Jameson Williams fully healthy next year. Add him to St. Brown, and all of a sudden, that is one of the best wide receiving cores in football. If he's a Detroit Lion, yeah.
Oh yeah,
that would be good. Listen, if he ends up going to play with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, which I could very easily see happening, I have some unfortunate news. You guys are going to have to find a new co-host because I'm done with football. That's it. I'm done. How can the Chiefs... This should be illegal. This is like when the Cavaliers and the Warriors started hoarding all the good players. What's going on in Kansas City? There's a monopoly, and we should, as Americans, all be just disgraced by it.
Is Roger Goodell allowed to say no to trades, just like Chris Paul to the Lakers?
Yeah. You get Daniel Stern or David Stern to come in there and do that for him. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
All right. So those are players possibly on the move. Now we're going to move on. We've closed the book now on the division on the wild card round. We're moving on to the division round. And as I was doing some prep for the division round, I came across, of course, Fly Eagles Fly, the most famous of all the fight songs in the NFL. And I started to do a deep dive on some of the other fight songs of the 8 remaining teams. And I thought that we'd go ahead and before we actually get to calling the games, I wanted to compare team fight songs before we get into it and determine which team has the best fight song. Obviously, we all are familiar with this one. Okay, we don't have to continue. We don't have to listen to the whole thing. We obviously all know the Eagles fight song. Well, they're playing the Giants this week, and so I went and did some research about the Giants songs. And the New York Giants actually have an official New York Giants anthem. And when I say anthem, I mean anthem. Like this should be rolling over the end credits of a Michael Bay film. You'll hear here.
I'm ready.
I'm joining the Giants army. I hear this thing, man.
Like I'm marching right now. This is the climax to like a World War I movie right here.
Get a crescendo at the end.
Okay.
Oh shit!
Am I a Giants fan now? I'm Rocky right now. Like, about to go to fight.
If you close your eyes, you can imagine Daniel Jones tripping over nothing at the 10-yard line. Look, it's slow-mo.
It's like cinematic. This is like a montage song that you can see in, like, Remember the Titans.
It's so that they get inspired by themselves. They're like, oh yeah, we can do this. We're gonna play some football.
We have gone through all the adversity. We can do it. Motivational.
This is incredible.
I think that really break on the camera. You know what I mean? They're definitely breaking their huddle.
I need my football helmet right now. I need to play.
I know. I mean, that is moving stuff. New York Giants, whoever the composer is, well done. They got that's
impressive.
When do they play that though? Because that does not scream, "Hey, we just scored a touchdown." You know, like the Eagles song screams, "Hey, man, something good just happened." I think the Giants anthem is just kind of like, "Hey, man, it's about to happen." You know,
it's about to go down. It's about to go down.
So that's the official Giants anthem, but they have had somebody else come out and do a modern version of a Giants fight song called "Blue and Red." We'll see if you guys like this as much as the anthem.
Yeah, you know what it is. It's that New York Giants, baby. Yeah, you know what it is. And if you didn't know what it was, now you do. Step in my town when you see me, you know everything. Everything's blue and red, baby. First and goal, man, you know that we going in. We going in. Yeah, all we do is win. Everything we do,
really?
Do it for the ring.
All we do is win? All we do
When
is
you
win?
think Italians, you think of winning football.
When's the last time they won a playoff game? They were playing against Aaron Hernandez, so I don't know. All they do is win.
Don't
All right.
discount last week.
Yeah, no, the anthem is definitely my favorite of those two, but they both, I think they beat the Eagles. So on the battlefield of music, I'm going to go with the Giants over the Eagles this weekend. Let's move on to the other NFC game, which is the Cowboys versus your 49ers. This is an old classic Dallas Cowboys fight song.
Wild West. This screams Wild West.
Dallas Cowboys. We are the Cowboys. Super coach, super team. Lean, hard, hungry, ugly, and mean. So get down, y'all. Dallas Cowboys. Some nights like we going to war. Big mean team from the big long star. Fighting in the third or pot of gold. See you on Sunday at the Super Bowl. We are the Cowboys.
All right. It starts off like we're watching the Rockford Files or something. I expect some like 1970s cop show. And so they should have done that. Like I could see the video with, you've got Michael Irvin and Daryl Johnston, and they're two partners, they're on the just on the edges of the law, out there, keeping Dallas safe. But then it turns into that the cheesy lyrics are really what does it in, because I think they had a pretty good, a little good disco tune going on there, man. I was
That
rocking
song,
with that.
I don't know. I could hear that song playing with like Clint Eastwood riding a horse, just like, and he's going, and it's like, "We are the Cowboys," just in the background, like.
Yeah.
What if they sing that to remind themselves what team they play for? It's how dumb that some of them are. They're just like, what team are we? Oh, yeah.
Here's a modern version of the Dallas Cowboys theme song.
Cowboy haters can say what they please, cause all that really matters to me. Watching the game with my family, watching my kids yelling at the TV, watching my kids rocking Cowboy jerseys, just like me back in 1993. Hope it happens for them like it happened to me. Watching my team Lombardi party in the streets. Last year was hard to believe, Dak's injury, man, he was on top of the league, but he back and thank God that he got a Mazik, and he talking about he got a brolic physique. I ain't checking for it, I just gotta believe. Brought an extra spoon so that Paula could eat. Brought in Danny Quinn and fixed the problems on D. Now a Cowboy hater got a problem with me. I cannot understand that. Right at the snap, rushing at him like I'm Tank. Cowboy logo on my hat, throwback Romo on my back. When they score, I do my dance, and they know I'm too advanced. Cowboy lyrics, I'm the man. If you wanna be a fan, this is your chance. Hurry up before there ain't no more room on a van. Man to man, be the stupidest.
All right, what do you guys think?
It's a song that Jerry Jones would like just a little too much. You know what I mean? Like you like so much. You're a little, Jerry, that's a little too much enthusiasm.
You get so groovy with it, you're worried he's gonna like tear his MCL or something.
Like, oh no.
All right. Well, those are the Cowboys' entries into the competition. Tommy, are you ready for your 49ers?
Oh yeah,
I don't think you're ready. I don't.
You're the 49ers? Is that what we're listening to right now?
Well, that is our first entry. Yeah.
Right.
The rest of everybody needs to be introduced to this song. Apparently, you know this song.
I know. I've heard it once or twice.
Well, Ben, this is going to be fun for you.
We are the 49ers. We are always fighting and we're always exciting. We are the 49ers. We're the red and the gold and we will never fold them. Started back in 46, Keyshawn had a lot of tricks. Seagulls flying way too low, the Niners were the only show. Football in the park, fourth quarter's getting dark. Leather helmets were okay, Sunday was a day to play.
Top five.
49ers have to sing about the good old days, don't they?
Shut your mouth.
I'm sorry. I out of respect for Billy Joel, I have to stop that.
The 2013 remastered version is the best one. I hate to be
well, we've got another 49 entry. Once again, taking an actual song as opposed to creating something original and just adding your own lyrics. Here we go.
Sounds like a hater. Yeah.
I don't have it on a loop. This is the song.
That's what I think. I know, but consistency is key.
You can learn these lyrics by listening one time.
We out to get
listening to all these songs, it makes sense that we all only know the Philadelphia
when the Niners got a first ring. 4 field goals by Ray Worship. Frisco, baby, we passionate. They said we couldn't get this far with Alex Smith. All non-believers, stop with the nonsense. Originators of the West Coast offense. The Niners.
Not the Alex Smith reference.
When was this one made?
It's a few years. I had to cut the beginning of it off because it starts off with this long Jim Harbaugh, passionate locker room speech over the track,
Oh,
So
that's so disappointing.
this was when Harbaugh was the coach, and this is how the
Oh, I
49ers.
miss Jim
It's
Harbaugh a
it's
little
it's
bit, but
it, it's fun.
No, you don't.
Um,
Don't lie to
the
yourself.
I always
the
thought that he was
next
all right.
the next song, I have another 49. I have a modern 49ers that's not taking off somebody else's song here. Got another 49ers entry for you. Also beginning with a long Jim Harbaugh entry. So I guess that was the era for making music for the 49ers was when Jim
Oh,
Harbaugh
yeah.
was the coach.
You know, the We Are the
Fun
49ers that I was talking about, the remastered one, that one was also, like, it mentioned Alex Smith, Jim Harbaugh.
Well, so this one is called Quest for Six, which is ironic since it is a few years old and the quest for six still continues. All right, here we go.
Oh yeah, Kyle Shanahan could not intro this video.
Imagine them running out to this song. So imagine the 49ers hitting the hype running out to this song. Oh,
Remember back in the day when I was just a little kid, my first Niner shirt, saw my first Niner win. Cause back in the day of Jerry Rice and Steve Young, another 4 quarters round, another Super Bowl one. Now we're coming again, and Patrick's leading the way. This is the blue collar scene, this is the blue collar band. Let's make some room on the shelf, let's make some noise. Shut them down and bring it home. Ring number 6. Back in the day, come on, it's time to play this game. Let me hear you say, hear you say, back in the day, come on, it's time to play this game. Tell me right now. Back in the day, come on, it's time to play this game.
I've been blessed by knowledge today.
So I think that one slaps. I think that one kicks the crap out of the Cowboys song. So I think the Niners win that matchup. So we've got the Giants and Niners moving on. That
It
winning
slaps,
the
does it,
battle. Yeah, it does slap. All right, let's move over to the AFC. Some not good entries from the Bills and the Bengals. I got to be honest with you. So this song from the Bengals is clearly from like the 60s, but they still play it in the stadium today. It's called Bengals Growl.
Hear the Bengal growling, mean and angry, here he comes a prowling, lean and hungry, an offensive brute, but pass or boots, and defensively he's rough, tough, Cincinnati Bengals, that's the team we're gonna cheer to victory. Touchdown Bengals, get the points upon that board and win a game for Cincinnati.
Over there.
Hear that Bengal growling, mean and angry.
We want
Here he
you.
comes the prowling, lean and hungry.
You know what? Call me crazy. I like the old songs. You know what? I like the old stuff the old fight songs like this where they play over the intercoms after you score. Like the Chicago Bears, they have one. It's called Bear Down Chicago Bears. They play it after every time they score, and you get to hear it 7 times a year. And each time you hear it, you're so happy. You're like, that's good.
Bear
That's
down,
great.
baby.
That's a good one.
All right. Well, so that's the Bengals entry. I looked all over the place. I was like, surely this is not the only Bills song that's ever been made. But man, they embrace this. It's all over the internet. There's like you can go and read interviews that were done by the guy who voiced the song. He didn't write the song because, as you'll find out, somebody else wrote it long before he ever came along the scene. Here is the Buffalo Bills. Make me want to shout.
I think the Bengals will win this one.
To be fair, they weren't playing this song, often, prior to
Where do you
years
even?
ago.
When do you even play this song? When?
Every time they score.
This is not a Bengals
You
scoring song.
not seeing them come back from like commercial and they're all going crazy to that within the shout in the background. You never seen that?
Yeah, I have, but like I don't know. It just seems so like it doesn't fit in my opinion. But it should be.
No, it's.
I've been
terrible.
to a Bills game before, so I've witnessed it firsthand. But it's not necessarily like the most exciting thing in the world.
It's the same people that jump through, flaming tables. I didn't really expect much from them,
I didn't see any of that though, and I went tailgating too. I didn't witness that.
All right, so I'm going to go with the Bengals here, just from an
Yeah, you got my
originality standpoint. I don't love the song, but at least it's their song and not somebody else's song that we
That's
just
fair.
decided to steal. The Jaguars, I moving on to the last game. The Jaguars, I also think, have a pretty original song, although the lyrics probably could use like another line. But here you go.
Let's go Jaguars!
Don't play what we call.
Yeah, let's go Jaguars! Let's go Jaguars! Let's go Jaguars! Let's go Jaguars! Let's go Jaguars!
The song is called "We Believe." If you hadn't,
I had no
caught
idea.
that.
Hey, they believed enough to come back. That's it, I mean, something, right?
We gon' get that W. Y'all gon' take that L thing. Came in the wrong place trying to play this Duval County, this elevate. Better believe when we step on the field, we ready to go in that black and that teal. I'm a jab like Jackson DeVille. I'm a jab in the Jackson's look. We believe. Got goals with 10 to the cheese. I believe you touch that ball out here, you gon' regret it when you meet the beat. I believe we gon' score when it come to O. I believe we getting better, being hungry for more. I believe that this year, like last year, and it won't be like it no more. Let's go. Let's go Jaguars.
All right,
I like
it
that one.
continues on for more.
You
of the
know,
song.
it's
It's not
just hard.
bad.
It's just hard. They're in a tough situation. It's hard to sound tough while you're saying teal. The two just don't go together.
And can somebody explain to me? I've never seen anybody so excited to be from a particular county than the people from Duval County. It's the Jaguars. It's their hashtag on Twitter. Man, it's their chant. It's featured in the song. Everybody loves Duval County. Apparently, if you live in Duval County. All right, the Chiefs are their opponent on Saturday.
Yeah,
And the
Chiefs
Chiefs-
win. We know.
Oh, no, let's just hear. This is Tech 9. Let's hear what Tech 9 has to say.
The KC local.
Kansas City. You ready?
I've always
You
liked
ready?
this
3, 2, 1, go! Welcome to the
Red Kingdom.
Yeah.
Red Kingdom.
Welcome to the
Red Kingdom.
yeah.
Red Kingdom.
Welcome to the Chiefs Kingdom. Got some lovers, got some other beasts. Bring them, mop them up and stop them. Got the KC Chiefs come and break these geeks, make them taste these cleats. Welcome to the
Red Kingdom.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop that one short because that was from a couple years ago. Tech 9, though, continues to make Chiefs songs. This one was from just this past Christmas.
Huh? There's a new one?
This is a Tech 9 Chiefs Christmas song that just came out 3 weeks ago.
No way.
Calling all Chiefs fans, everyone, gather around, so you all won't miss this wonderful gift that's about to begin right now.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all seemed just fine. You thought I was Santa Claus?
But surprise, Tech 9.
And it ain't no sheep in here, cause we're wolves in Chiefs clothing. You won't know what hit you when that red and gold just keeps rolling. Better study hard, cause Andy Reid is coming to town with a twinkle of his stats, and that's another Kansas City Chiefs.
First down.
The fight to its own, the Maestro Mahomes, he stays willing and dealing. Shovel passes, no looks.
Touchdown, Chiefs.
Oh, what a feeling. Don't forget the other side, because defense wins. Every time that there's a sack, an angel gets its. The ghost of Christmas past, they're all here.
Bell.
Tomboy, Syrian nightmare. Spreading holiday fear. Come on, let's go. Jingle bells are, but our decibels are unstoppable. When the Red Kingdom rocks red, a silent night is impossible. Before stepping in the house, it's a few things you should know. Just some ground rules from tech to help you enjoy the show. Let's get it. First things first, there ain't no lead that we can't handle. Down 24, never no worries, just don't change that channel. Rule number 2, you gotta know the clock is on our side. Just 13 seconds, but you better believe we won't be denied. Here we go. Last but not least, Chiefs Kingdom is won. So welcome one, welcome all. Casey, the fun has just begun.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That gave me shivers down my spine. I don't know what it was. It was just so interesting.
Tech
felt like-
9 coming strong. Coming strong.
Yeah, I don't
All
like
right.
your team, Kyle, but I like your songs. I'll give you that. They win the championship for sure.
They're meh.
They're the favorites.
All right. Well, so we have completed our run through the songs. Let's go ahead and get on to the games. What do you guys think? Shall we do
Oh, yeah,
that?
there's football to this. I
Yeah,
forgot.
It is
Football
football weekend. The first game of the weekend is the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Kansas City Chiefs. That is the first game on Saturday. Saturday at 4:30 Eastern time. Chiefs 8.5-point favorites. The total line on this one is 52 points. And Tommy and I have the Chiefs covering. Ben, well, hey, the Jaguars were good to you last week. What do you see with the Jaguars this week?
Listen, just in my head, statistically thinking about this one, I initially lean towards the Chiefs. But the playoffs have already proven that anyone can win any game, and games are much closer than they once appear. You can never really count what that emotional, want for the Super Bowl, just being able to, almost taste it practically, right? Like that can be really inspirational. I think the Chiefs win. I do like the Jags to keep it within a touchdown. Now, my gut's just saying that. And honestly, and if you're rooting for a Chiefs blowout, what kind of football fan are you? You want to see Trevor Lawrence and Patrick Mahomes just sling it out until the final play. I like the Jags to cover the 8.5 here, though I understand why it's probably not the most attractive pick.
Tommy, your thoughts on this?
Well, I don't think that matters. Lightning doesn't strike twice in the same spot. At least it's really hard to. But I don't know what that saying was, but it's just what came out of my brain. But I do know that the Chiefs are gonna wallop the Jaguars, and I do like the Jaguars. I think they're a great story, and I want them to win, despite But realistically, you got to go with Kansas City here, just because if something like what happened to Trevor Lawrence happens again, which you don't expect it to, at least in the first half, the Chiefs aren't the type of team to give up that much momentum and just hand them that much offensive success. The Chiefs are probably going to win it and win it comfortably, but if anything, that over-under number, I don't know if we're going to talk about that yet. I have some thoughts about that.
Go ahead and give your thoughts.
I think the over is going to be major here. I think both offenses are super capable. And, the Chiefs are always find a way to score. We know that. They're one of the best scoring offenses in the league. But the Jaguars are sneakily up there too. And I think that the two teams, I think it's going to be a fireworks show with these two quarterbacks. It's going to be two young, one older, but the other, prodigy. I would love to see this game just be air yards and air yards.
Well, so there is snow in the forecast for Saturday. But before that makes you jump off the over, let's hear what Patrick Mahomes has to say about playing in the snow.
It don't mean nothing.
I think I'm a snow game guy. I don't know why. I kind of like it. Everything's super slow, and I'm just out here just standing straight in the pocket, just whoop, whoop.
Ben, do you remember when the Chiefs played in that snow game where that soundbite is taken from?
I don't remember each of those specific. What is it now? 16 losses in a row. I couldn't tell you. It's probably one of those though.
It was a couple years ago against Drew Lock in Kansas City. Snowstorm. Patrick though lit it up. A couple of things. So Patrick Mahomes has 8 postseason wins. The Jacksonville Jaguars have 8 postseason wins. They both came into the world at the same time. Jaguars were founded in 1995, and Patrick Mahomes was born in 1995. In those 11 games that Patrick has played in the postseason, he has 3,381 yards. If you extend that out to a full 17-game season, that would be 5,225 yards, which is just 25 yards short of what his total was this year. He would have 51 total touchdowns in a full season of playoff football. So not only does Patrick maintain when he starts playing against the best teams in the NFL, he actually increases his output. I see the Chiefs having a really good game. Andy Reid off of a bye. We know that there's going to be some offensive wrinkles that the Jaguars have not seen, and I think the Chiefs do roll in this. One cautionary thing about the over was that it was 27-17 when they played earlier in the year. But to your point, Tommy, Jacksonville's offense is playing considerably better than they were at that point. I can see this game being 35-24, 35-27. Well, not 35-27 because that would mean that I'm taking the Jags.
I admitted it. You admitted it first.
Kyle, come on, Kyle.
The Chiefs will win by 10 points, but this game I think is going to get to around 60 total points. Big scoring game here. Let's go and check out our props for the game. Tommy, you like Trevor to go over, get 2 passing touchdowns and an Isaiah Pacheco rushing touchdown, which I totally dig at plus 385 too. That's great value.
I'm a big Pacheco fan, first of all, and the Jaguars defense, although they have been stepping up lately, they are still slightly, I'd say a little bit below average in rushing defense. They've given up a decent amount of rushing touchdowns this year, definitely below the league average or above the league average technically. But I do like Pacheco to score here in the playoffs too. And Trevor Lawrence over 1.5 passing touchdowns. If we're sticking with the over here, then you got to stick with Trevor Lawrence over 1.5 passing touchdowns because all those touchdowns aren't going to come from rushing touchdowns. You know, I'd love to see Trevor Lawrence succeed here. And Pacheco, I'm a huge fan of him. I think he's going to play well.
Ben, your prop is a Travis Kelce touchdown and Chiefs win at plus 100.
Yeah, the Chiefs money line right now is sitting at minus 450. Tell you what, how about you just get that in by buttling it, with the Travis Kelce touchdown? Because, that's very likely to happen, because,
Well, he scored against them. Yeah, he scored against them the first time they played. And a fun fact to back up your prop here, the Jacksonville Jaguars rank 32nd in EPA against tight ends. Travis Kelce, a fairly decent tight end. So
it's their weakness. Get the KC money line and plus money. Just jump on that plus 100. It's a value bet right there.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. I'm a huge fan. Plus money on that is crazy.
And for my prop, I've got Patrick Mahomes going over 300 passing yards and Jerick McKinnon getting a touchdown. That's going to pay me plus 350. McKinnon has scored in 6 straight games. He has 9 touchdowns on the year, 8 touchdowns during that 6-game stretch. He has become such a red zone option for them. They get the ball inside the 10-yard line. Look for Jerick McKinnon and Mahomes. He averages over 300 yards in the postseason per game. There's no reason to think that he won't do that against the Jaguars on Saturday. Again, coming off a bye, the Chiefs are rested. Everybody's healthy. I expect a big game from him. And at plus 350, I can't pass that up.
Kyle, I got to give you props for the prop, man. That's beautiful. I'm a huge fan. I think, this is probably one of the first times since we started this show that I can really say confidently that I would legitimately place money on every single one of these props.
I do. I like them all. Yeah, I like them all.
Huge fan.
Yeah.
All right. Second game on Saturday. We go to Philadelphia, the other number 1 seed. also coming off a bye like the Chiefs. They've got the New York Giants that we all failed to believe in last week. Which of us are going to believe in them this week? All of us are
Yeah.
going to.
Oh, I was so scared.
Yeah.
I was so
Oh,
scared.
I was terrified. I was like, am I going to be the only one?
No,
Oh, Lord
actually,
have
actually,
mercy.
the fact that we all believe in them terrifies me because we all picked the Bills, we all picked the Bengals, and we all picked the Vikings last week, and we lost all three of those bets. So the fact that all three of us have the Giants here makes me a little nervous. Groupthink and all can't be good, right?
Hey,
Anyway,
if we're losing together. You know, united
I,
front.
look, the Giants are 14-4 against the spread. That is the best in the NFL. The Eagles haven't looked great for the last month. I know a lot of that was about the injury, and everybody says that Jalen Hurts is healthy again. But man, a couple of things. What I really like about the Giants, they are top 10 in red zone defense, top 5 in third down defense. They are going to force more punts than the Eagles are used to. They're going to force more field goals than the Eagles are used to. And I think that's what keeps this close. If it was 6.5, I'd probably go Eagles. But at 7.5, I like the Giants to keep this inside a touchdown.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the Giants are incredible, with the spread, but I think that the plus 7.5 is just giving them too much leeway. Plus 7, I I might have to go with the Eagles here, but plus 7.5 just gives me that little extra touchdown room, and you know how we feel about that. I think that the Giants are going to play great defense. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this weekend, and I would love to see Jalen Hurts struggle a little bit. But in reality, I do think that the Eagles are going to win this game. I mean, I feel like most of us do, but it's going to be a lot closer. And the divisional opponent is going to be incredible.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I mean, like when you look at the NFC, the Eagles are the team that everyone's trying to duck, right? On the way to the Super Bowl. Not the New York Giants. Not the New York Giants. I promise you, because they openly accepted that Vikings game. They said, look back at the regular season. We should have won that game. We're going to go out there. We're going to finish our business. We're going to show the world we're the better team. You know what? They got some fucking I'm not sure if I can say it. They got some unfinished business uh in this one. I like the Giants to keep it close, dude. Division rivalry in the playoffs. It's too much going on, especially in the NFC East, because that is the division, that there's no love lost between any of them. So yeah, I love the Giants to stay within a touchdown. And I could see an upset here. I'm not going to go as far as to say it's going to happen, but this could be a game.
A couple of notes here, just because I did the research and I want to get these notes out there. Since 1990, the New York Giants are 6-0 when playing the number 1 seed in the playoffs. 18 times since the merger, a team that swept the other team then hosts that team in the playoffs. That team that did the sweeping, 9-9 against the spread in that playoff game. So those playoff games do end up being closer than what they experienced in the regular season. 6 times they lost that playoff game outright. They did not beat that team a third straight time. Lastly, since the NFL went to 12 teams in 1990, there have been 64 number 1 seeds. 32 of those number 1 seeds have made it to the Super Bowl. 14 have won the Super Bowl. So it is not uncommon for a 1 seed to get dumped somewhere on the way. And it's quite common for the number 1 seed to not win the Super Bowl. So could this be where the Eagles lose? I mean, we saw the 1 seeds get dumped last year. No reason to think that it couldn't happen again this year. Let's look at our props here for this game. So Tommy, Dallas Goedert, you love your tight ends. Tell us about your tight end prop here.
You know how I feel about tight ends, and then you also take into account that the Giants are 26th against tight ends in fantasy, and I know that fantasy doesn't necessarily always add up, but I think Dallas Goedert is going to find his way into the end zone somehow. There's just this gut feeling that Dallas Goedert is going to find his way to the end zone.
All right, I like it.
I like the money too. Plus 210 is beautiful.
Yeah, in fact, I even later in the day after because I know when you first did it, it was below 210.
It was
then
plus
we, then
170 before.
yeah, and I've seen it now up to plus 220. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
get on that.
Put some money
It's
down. Put some money down.
good money. Ben, AJ Brown, anytime touchdown for you.
Oh yeah, hey, you know what? They call me the odds forager because if you gave me enough time, I could find you odds in plus money that it will rain in Seattle. Listen, it is crazy the things that some of these bookies will keep in plus money. And then AJ Brown anytime touchdown at plus 100 is absolutely nothing but value. Probably should be around that negative like minus 115, 125 mark in my opinion. So just finding it in plus money. That's what I'm doing for y'all. I just find these easy plus money bets. Here's one for you: AJ Brown anytime touchdown.
Well, since you guys, we all picked the Giants, yet you guys have the Eagles scoring all these points. I went ahead and this is where the Giants keep it close. Saquon Barkley, he's going to score a touchdown. He is going to rush for at least 75 yards, and that is plus 250 if he does those two things. I can see this absolutely happening. He had a great game last week. He has been rejuvenated the last 3 or 4 weeks, looking really good. That little lull he had end of November seems to be past him. The the Giants must rely heavily on Saquon Barkley if they're going to be competitive in this game. And so they're going to try to get him involved. And I want that plus 250 because I think he not only is he involved, I think he is successful against the Eagles defense, which is good, but hasn't been as good this last half of the year. All right. So that is the end of the Saturday games. Sunday game, the game we missed out on a couple weeks ago because of the Damar Hamlin going down with cardiac arrest. So that game ended up being canceled. We now get the Bengals at the Bills. Interesting thing is that game would have been played in Cincinnati, or this game here would have been played in Cincinnati had the Bengals won that game, but because it was canceled, we are in Buffalo for this one. Bengals getting 5 points to the Bills, and we all like the Bengals to cover that spread. Once again, I'm nervous that we are all on the same page here. Why do we think the Bengals on the road are going to cover this spread against Buffalo?
The Bengals are a damn good football team. And they have proven, they started the season a little bit, on and off, but they've come through. And everybody, all of us, I think all three of us trust Joey Burrow. Their offense is incredible, and they are always competitive in these playoff games against top AFC opponents. And it doesn't matter if, luck isn't going the other team's way or luck is going the Bengals' way. They find a way to make it competitive. +5 is a large margin. I think that it's going to be a field goal game if they do lose. I would even like to say that they win this game possibly. But if you're going to be confident in anything, it's got to be the over. The over at 50.5 is unbelievable. I mean, with KC and Jacksonville being over 52, I don't know why this one isn't higher. I feel like this game might even be higher scoring than that one is. It's going to be I said that the Chiefs game was going to be a fireworks show with the two quarterbacks. This one, up it. Make that even more.
Agreed.
Yeah, I like the Bengals in this one because you know, the whole thing coming into this, the Bengals are upset because rightfully, in their opinion, they should have either some kind of shot or compensation at home field advantage or a neutral site territory. And, we were not here to debate, the logistics of how everything was handled. But I do think that there's a chip on their shoulder because of the way, from their perspective, the things that were handled. And that's not at any fault at Buffalo. You know what I mean? Because like I think it was like they could have stayed like an extra day to play the game the day after. I don't think anyone wants to play football the day after your teammate goes through something like that. You obviously need time to just get back to your family, just really think about everything and get back into that mindset to be able to compete. With that all being said, though, Cincinnati doesn't think that they should be in Buffalo, and I think that that really comes through for them. I think that this game's just going to be an absolute heater. I'm excited for it. Uh, but yeah, I think that that chip on the shoulder comes into play for the Bengals.
I love the Bengals and Bills, what they have as two franchises. I mean, the two of them are honestly two of the closest, not as rivals, but friendly franchises that I've seen. I mean, the Bills game that I was talking about that I went to was a Bills Bengals game, and everybody was being nice to each other because maybe a year or two prior to that, the Bengals helped the Bills get into the playoffs. And then after everything that happened with, the tragedy of Damar Hamlin, I mean, both teams and are being we're so good about it, and seeing some Bengals guys reaching out and making sure, I feel like the bond between those teams is pretty strong. I know this has nothing to do with the game itself, but I just really enjoy watching these teams compete because
Mhm.
there's just that sense of, almost a bit of a brotherhood between them.
A couple of notes here. The Bills played 5 games against playoff teams this year. They beat 3 of them, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, and the Ravens. They only won each game, though, by 3 points. So all of a sudden, we're suggesting that they're going to beat the Bengals by an even larger margin than they beat these other playoff teams in the regular season. The Bills defense, when we're looking at that over there, 50.5, Bills defense in the playoffs, 31 points allowed to Miami last week. Last year, they gave up 42 to Kansas City. The year before that, 38 to Kansas City. They are prone to giving up big numbers in the postseason. The Cincinnati Bengals, very capable of putting up a big number. On to the props. Mr. Birch, you like Gabe Davis, and I
This
have
is
got him as a Cincinnati Bengal, and he is not a Cincinnati Bengal. He is a Buffalo Bill, but the Buffalo Bill wide receiver, he had 3 touchdowns in the divisional round last year.
That's kind of what went into this. I was excited about this. It's a fun bet. It's not something I'd put a lot of money on, but there's a shot. And I think that Gabe Davis, especially in with last year's playoffs, he came through in the bigger moments. He proved himself. He holds an NFL record now for playoff receiving touchdowns, if I'm correct. And I would love to see him perform again. And it's more of just, I think that with this game being so high scoring, somebody's got to score the ball. And if that guy's not going to be Stephon Diggs, if they're locking him down, I think that Gabe Davis is the next best thing.
Well, the Bengals secondary is definitely banged up right now, so it makes sense that they're going to get their touchdowns through the air. Ben, you also think that there's going to be some passing touchdowns.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be so much scoring. There's going to be touchdowns for everyone's going to be like they all went to the Oprah show and she was giving away touchdowns. Everyone's going to have a touchdown, all right? And these quarterbacks are going to be giving them out like it was candy on Halloween, all right? Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, how can you say no to this? At plus 310, if you're hitting the over, you have faith that points are coming from somewhere. These are the 2 most likely candidates. If you're willing to bet the over, you might as well just throw a little side bet on this, a little single game parlay at plus 310. Go to the usual suspects. Get yourself a payday.
The usual suspects.
Well, I am swinging for the fences with my payday here. You guys are, you're a little dinking and dunking there with your singles and doubles. I want to hit a home run. I am going to go correct score.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Correct score, Cincinnati 31, Buffalo 27. And if that is the score, plus 8,000, 31-27, Cincinnati Bengals. I've got the Bengals winning by 4, and this is over. This is a 58 points. So we've got the over hitting, we've got the Bengals covering, and we've got the correct score, 31-27 at plus 8,000.
Kyle's shooting for some cheddar.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
I am. There's a real good chance I'm going to strike out, but if not, woohoo!
How much money are you actually going to put on this, Kyle?
I'll probably put $10 on it. Why not?
Yeah.
Turn
There we
$10
go.
into $800. That'd be all right.
Do we get like a percentage if you win?
Why did you give me the bet? Why would you get a percentage?
for being your friend.
Oh, I got to pay for my friends now, man.
It's a cruel world we live in.
I guess. All right, that is the early game on Sunday. Our late game on Sunday, the Dallas Cowboys getting 4 points against the San Francisco 49ers. And once again, we are in lockstep with one another. We like the 49ers to cover that spread. I even saw this spread drop here just before we came on to record this, down to 3.5. I'm not sure what's happening, why the number is shrinking on the 49ers. I think it should be the other way around. I think it's probably recency bias. People saw Dak Prescott and completely forgot about the fact that he spent the prior 6 weeks throwing interceptions. And because he had a good game against a bad Buccaneers team, all of a sudden the Cowboys are back. 49ers are out there curb stomping people.
Yeah.
And I don't see any reason why they won't do that again this week against the Dallas team that is overrated at the moment.
You know what? Both of you, I'm proud you came to your senses after last week. I would love to see this YouTube rooting for the Niners this weekend for your Vegas picks, because I have a good feeling that one of you or both of you are putting real money on this game. So I'm gonna be sitting in my chair watching that game, and I'm gonna be happy because in my head I know that Kyle and Ben are rooting for the 49ers. It's such a good feeling. But yeah, I mean, there's not much to say here. Dallas is not as good. And Dak had one great game, and everybody expects him to repeat, especially against one of, if not the best defense in the league. And although
they're the best defense.
Yeah, the best defense. And even though their defensive backs aren't the strongest point of their defense, they're still pretty strong. It's going to be tough.
Listen, the Niners can cover the spread purely off of the kicker difference, okay? Like they can score the same amount of touchdowns and the Niners will literally cover just because of Marr. What a great dude. Isn't it great when we know kickers' names? It's either really good or really bad. It's like the principal. You don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I love the Niners to cover this one. However much pain it brings me to see Tommy Birch so happy.
Ah,
Well, no,
it's a good day to be alive.
yeah, Robbie Gold is we know his name because he's a good kicker. So yeah.
He's one of the better ones.
And
Yeah,
we learned Marr because he not.
Yeah,
Not
did you
anymore.
see did you see that Merriam-Webster, the dictionary was out tweeting out definitions for yips during the game as Marr was making it. When you're getting dunked on by the dictionary, you are having a bad night.
Getting dunked on by the dictionary.
When Cody Parkey looks like a Pro Bowler because of your performance, you're not doing too good. You're not.
That's
you're
a
not
top
great.
5 quote from Kyle of all time. When you're getting dunked on by the dictionary. That's incredible.
All right, let's go to our props for this game. I'm going to guess that there's going to be some 49ers represented here. Deebo Samuel, only 56, right? Didn't he have what did he have last week? Like 150 or something like that?
He had like 100 and something. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But, this game,
Well,
I mean,
I like
when
that
he's healthy,
pick,
he's one of the better receivers in the NFL. And I think that's you guys just loaded out for a second. I don't know what happened.
No, yeah,
but
I think we're okay still.
But I think he had 133 yards and a touchdown last week. And I think that he's just going to repeat it. He's healthy. He's in great shape. You saw him last week taking that massive catch to the house. He's a playmaker. We're just going to see more of it.
All right, Ben, Christian McCaffrey.
Oh yeah. So what I say about finding stuff that's gonna happen and then finding it and plus money. This is a Christian McCaffrey anytime. All right, not rushing, not receiving. Anytime touchdown. And a San Francisco win. We're gonna put that at plus 155. Listen, he's gonna score a touchdown. We don't know how he's gonna do it, whether it'll be on the ground or through the air. But McCaffrey is gonna find a way into the end zone. That's just kind of like the laws of gravity. It's just happening, and I think San Francisco wins. So, like I said, you boost that little money line up. Find a team that you think's gonna win, figure out their win condition. I think it's plus 155 bet here, and yeah, that's what I'm going with.
All right, I'm going to go with Tony Pollard rushing for 45 or more yards and Dak Prescott going under 275 pass yards. I think the Cowboys are going to try to run the football because that's their only way to try to. They want to slow this game down, shorten the possessions, stay close because of their running game. And it doesn't have to be great. Pollard 45 rush yards doesn't mean he's had a good game. It just means that he's been used. And I don't think there's any way Prescott goes over 275 against when he's going to have Joey Bosa in his lap for most of the game. Excuse me, Nick Bosa, not Joey. Joey is crying in his beer back in LA. Nick is the one who is the good Bosa, who is going to be Defensive Player of the Year, and he's going to have a big game in this game, which is going to keep Dak Prescott's numbers way down. I like the 49ers defense to do that to him. And that's plus 150 on that. Again, plus money for two things that I think are very likely to happen. So I'm happy to put some money down on that. So that is the end of our games. That is the end of our picks, except for our pick of the week. And we have yet to play our game to determine who gets to go first. You guys still up for a game? I know I've had to alert the affiliates that we're running a little long, so they'll bump their later programming to fit us in. But are you guys good with another game before we go, so that we can determine which of you gets to pick first in your bet of the week? You guys good with that?
Sure, why not? Let's go for it.
Always. Let's do it.
NFL divisional round history is the topic. Now, this is an even numbered week. This is the 20th week, our 20th episode.
Jeez.
So Ben, you get to go first. All right.
Woo.
Okay. So last year in the divisional round, all 4 games were either decided by 3 points or decided in overtime. That overtime game, of course, being the Bills and Chiefs, which then changed the overtime rules. The year before that, the following the 2020 season, 3 of the 4 divisional games were decided by 10 points or more. So there were a lot of blowouts in the divisional round 2 years ago. What was the game that was close? One of the 4 games
that was close.
The divisional round in 2020, 3 games were blowouts. 1 game was within 1 touchdown.
That was 2020. I can't even think back to that off the dome. Would it be like, this sounds like it was a game that probably happened. Was it like Buffalo and Baltimore or something?
Buffalo did play Baltimore. Buffalo beat Baltimore 17-3.
Dang.
That game did take place in the divisional round in 2020.
I'm just glad I got an eligible answer out, so we're just going to say that as a win.
All right. Okay, well, the 3 blowouts were Buffalo beating the Ravens, the Packers beat the Rams 32-17, and the Bucks beat the Saints 30-20. The 4th game, the Chiefs and the Browns. The Chiefs beat the Browns 22-17.
Oh, I would have never gone that.
This was after the Browns beat Pittsburgh, right? And
yes, the Browns scored like 45 points against Pittsburgh. Yeah.
And then
and then they went to Kansas City and lost. Okay, so in that Bills-Ravens game from 2 years ago, that was 17-3. It was a weird game. Justin Tucker missed a 41-yard field goal. That's how weird it was.
Whoa.
Who finished the game at quarterback for the Ravens after Lamar Jackson left with a concussion? Tommy, this is to you.
The Ravens backup quarterback from 2020 to 2021.
2 years ago, yep.
I don't know why, but the Josh Johnson comes to my head. That's the name I'm going to throw out there.
It was still Tyler Huntley. He was the backup quarterback. Tyler Huntley played in that playoff game against the Bills. Ended up throwing like 12 passes. He played a lot in the 4th quarter and threw the ball a lot.
Right. Respect to Tyler. Sticking it.
Okay, Ben, this is to you. The Jacksonville Jaguars are coming off the 3rd biggest comeback in playoff history from 27 points down. In the divisional round, the record is a 24-point comeback done by which team following the 2019 season?
2019. Is that the Minnesota Vikings?
It is not. The Kansas City Chiefs were down 24-0 to the Houston Texans in the divisional
Yeah, I
round
remember that. I remember that
and
one.
and the Chiefs ended up scoring 51 points in that game still.
Wasn't
All
it
I'm hearing-
51-31?
51-31 was the final score.
I remember
The
watching
Chiefs
that game. It was
scored
incredible.
the Chiefs scored 7 touchdowns straight without the Texans scoring. It was a wild game.
All I'm hearing is
Okay.
that the Texans were in the playoffs more recently than the Denver Broncos, and that is a tragedy.
Yeah, so it's cautionary tale. So the Texans had a young stud quarterback. They go up huge in the playoff game. They then lose that lead, lose the game, and look what's happened to the Texans since then. So is that what's in line for the Chargers after having done the same thing?
Before you ask my question, my computer's about to die. I'm gonna grab my chargers. It'll be like 2 seconds. 1 second, boys.
Okay. Ben, I'm going to share this question with you, and then we'll bring in Tommy.
All right.
It's actually, it involves his team. Let me go ahead and skip ahead to your question. We'll do 2 for Tommy.
Okay. All right.
Okay. The Cincinnati Bengals are 3-4 all time in the divisional round, making it to the Super Bowl all 3 times they have won in this round of the playoffs.
Yes.
Last year, they played the Rams in the Super Bowl. Who did they play in their other 2 Super Bowls?
The Giants. And is the Giants one of them?
No.
No, I have no idea. Then the Cowboys. Those would have been my 2 guesses.
Sorry,
You are forgiven for not being alive. The Cincinnati Bengals' previous 2 Super Bowls were against the San Francisco 49ers. Joe Montana beat them both times.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right,
Talk about
Tommy.
the 49ers when I'm not even here. They live in your heads rent free, huh?
Well, we've got a 49ers question here for you.
Oh.
The 49ers and Cowboys have played in the playoffs 8 previous times, including last year in the wild card round. 6 of the matchups took place in the NFC Championship game, leaving just 1 previous meeting in the divisional round. Who won that game? Previous divisional round game between the 49ers and Cowboys.
I'm going to go with Dallas just because I feel like it just makes sense.
The Cowboys did, in fact, win that game. It was in 1972. And a fun fact, so obviously they've played 8 times. 5 times the winner of the 49ers Cowboys in the postseason has gone on to win the Super Bowl. So
interesting.
The winner this week could be the Super Bowl champion. We shall find out.
Oh, okay.
This question also to you, Tommy, since we did an extra one for Ben. The Giants have won in the divisional round 5 times in their history, and all 5 times they went on to win the NFC Championship game, advancing to the Super Bowl. In those 5 Super Bowls, the Giants are 4-1, beating the Broncos, Bills, and Patriots twice. Who did they lose to?
Who did the Giants lose to in the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Good AFC teams. Who did they lose to in the Super Bowl? I don't know. This might be a weird.
Affiliates are getting antsy.
Is it Pittsburgh?
It was the 2000 Baltimore Ravens led by Trent Dilfer.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yes.
I wasn't alive for it. So.
All right, Ben, this is to you. Since the merger, the largest win in playoff history was by the Jaguars in the divisional round. Following the 1990 season, they beat the Miami Dolphins 62-7.
Oof.
Who were the starting quarterbacks in that game? 1999 season. Jags Dolphins.
Jags.
Don't overthink it.
I want to say I cannot for the life of me remember who was in Jacksonville. But was it Marino on the other?
It was Dan Marino's final game.
Yeah, that's what
his
I thought.
Last career game, he lost 62-7.
Yeah. It would be whoever was just in Jacksonville, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Mark Brunell was the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback. He was their first first quarterback in
Yeah.
franchise history.
Wasn't
Okay.
Mark Brunell left-handed?
He was, in fact, left-handed.
Love that guy.
Huge.
Okay, we all remember the Vikings' incredible last-second victory in 2017 divisional round over the Saints, the Minneapolis Miracle. It sent the Vikings to the NFC Championship game against the Eagles, who had won their divisional round game the day before with Nick Foles at quarterback. Who did the Eagles beat the same weekend that the Vikings beat the Saints?
Wait, this was 2017, 2018. Nick Foles.
Yes.
This was Atlanta.
It was indeed the Atlanta Falcons. Well done.
Huge.
Wasn't it a
Well
low-scoring
done.
game too? I can't remember the exact
It
score,
was
but it wasn't
15-10
Oof.
was the score of the game. So yes, well done.
Non-stop
right.
excitement.
So Tommy, you are going to win. You've got the first pick, but our tiebreaker, we'll just go ahead and do it because it's fun.
It's always fun.
Again, this is going to be a range. Whoever gets closest to the actual answer will win this question. Of the 8 remaining starting quarterbacks, Dak Prescott has been in the league the longest, drafted in the 4th round in 2016. Brock Purdy has been in the league the shortest amount of time, drafted last in the 2022 draft. How many quarterbacks were drafted between Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy?
Oh wow. Is it whose turn is it? Who gets to pick the
Drafted?
Ben, you can pick first. How many quarterbacks were drafted between the 4th round of 2016 and the last pick of the 7th round in 2022?
I'm gonna say 24.
Okay, Tommy.
I'm gonna say 35.
72 quarterbacks have
Oh,
been
jeez.
drafted. In the 2016 draft, there were 7 more quarterbacks taken after Dak Prescott. There were 10 taken in 2017, 13, 11, 13, 10, and then 8 taken this past draft. All right, so Tommy,
I'm
it
not
is up
great at
to you. Go ahead and make your top pick of the weekend.
I'm gonna go with the San Francisco -4.
San Francisco -4. Okay. Ben, your top pick of the weekend.
Yeah, I'll be the man to make waves again. I'm gonna take Cincinnati's money line at +196.
Cincinnati +196. I like it. And for me, I am going to take that Bengals Buffalo Bills over at 50.5.
Nice.
That is my favorite pick of the week. Over 50.5.
Good picks, boys. Good picks.
All right. Well, we did run a little long tonight, but I think we had fun doing it as we approach the 2-hour mark. Thank you very much to my co-host, Tommy Birch in Massachusetts, Ben O'Connell in Chicago, Illinois. I am Kyle Garwood in Denver, Colorado. Thank you to our sponsors, Sports 2.0 Network, USA Wager. And most of all, thank you to you for sticking with us now for 20 episodes. We will be here again next week to break down the championship games, to give you our favorite bets of the week, to give you our best props and all of the good news that is leading up to the conclusion of what has been an excellent NFL season. So once again, for the 3 of us, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Happy betting.
Chiefs Kingdom. Let's not win. Yeah.
Oh Lord.